Day one of the Safari GS 2012 goes from Ballina, lunch at Grafton, and then on to Glen Innes. Day 2 we left Glen Innes and headed south to Armidale. In 2012 I decided to take my BMW water-cooled 650 Sertao thumper on the GS Safari. Sertao is really a great choice of bike for the 5-day ride through the dividing ranges. There's lots of fast farm roads, dirt roads in New South Wales. BMW had decided from the previous year that adventure boxes were not to be carried by riders and would be carried in a support truck. That had come from leg injuries, I think, sustained from hard metal boxes and people falling over in the sand. So anyway, only tank bags were allowed, and a small soft bag was permitted on the back for carrying tubes and tools to minimise risk. The 650 Sertao is a really good choice of bike in my mind because it isn't too heavy, and I had no trouble actually keeping up or passing 800s and 1200 GSs on the dirt roads. It's not a race, of course, but there's quite a big variation in the rider experience on the dirt, and some guys slow right down when they get to dirt on their GSs. I tended to wake up when I saw and hit the dirt, open up the throttle on the Sertao, probably going back to my motocross roots. The bike only has 50 horsepower, but my riding style was more of a full throttle, full brakes. The Sertao responds very well to that. You don't have to modulate the throttle much because there isn't much power. Okay, in all I did 3,200 kilometers over 5 days, including getting to and from the start in Ballina and the finish in Foster, back home. Okay, what's the GS Safari all about? The GS Safaris are a fantastic opportunity to get out and see the real dirt roads of Australia. And these are farm roads. These are generally roads that are farm access roads that run behind all the bitumen roads and are really used by the local farmers. You'll find cattle grazing on these roads, stockmen sometimes pushing their cattle down the roads, but quite often the cattle are unattended and just all over the roads. So you've got to be a little bit careful there. The safari was very well planned. I think the route was organised by Nick Selleck. Nick's always got great routes on any of his rides that he organises. The rally took us through some really nice twisty roads. The highlight for me was probably day 2 and day 3, but there was some nice roads, Tom's Pass on day 4 as well. The trick with the rally is to leave early, ride at the speed that you feel comfortable at, ride corner to corner at your own speed, and very soon you'll pick up a ride buddy, in my case Tony and Pete, people who ride at your speed. And that's the great satisfaction. There's nothing worse than trailing along in other people's dust. You see that on the rally, you see people just eating each other's dust all day long. It's not for me, I don't advise it. Better to ride at your own speed. Soon you'll find someone just behind you, or you'll be just behind someone else. Drop back far enough to get out of their dust cloud if you are behind someone who's riding at your speed, and you'll enjoy it. For me, I de-stressed from work in the first 10 minutes on day 1, and I was totally relaxed all through the 5 days of the rally. My comments on the Sertao for anyone thinking of getting one is the front end is relatively heavy compared to other enduro bikes or motocross bikes. And there's very little possibility that you can lift the front wheel. You can't really wheelie it without some gymnastics. It doesn't have enough power to wheelie and the front is heavy. I later on, after the rally, removed the whole front beak assembly, changed the battery to a lithium battery in an effort to reduce more weight. The pegs are just too far forward. Fitted a Touratech rear peg 2-inch further back type kit, and that enabled me to stand and lean forward more and be more comfortable in the standing position for adventure riding. The rear ABS is totally useless. It's too interventionist and it won't let you lock the back up to step the back out. Instruments, not a big fan of BMW retro classic instruments. Just wish they'd bring in TFT sooner on all their bikes, and their LCDs are too small, couldn't read the RPM at all. Sertao is 193 kilos wet. It's definitely not as light as the Husqvarna 650 Terra, which it shares the engine with. The gearbox, really, with the standard 16 tooth, you're going to find first and second not very usable. I changed to a 14 tooth for this rally, but that made my top end restricted to about 135 kilometers at redline. Pity BMW didn't add a 6th gear and make that significantly higher, 25 or 30% higher than 5th, because that would have made the bike more usable. So yeah, its first gear and second gear need to be lower, and then it needs a 6th gear higher. So the gearbox is not a strong point, not something to like, I don't think. Standard Sertao side stand, the bike leans over too far and the side stand sticks out at a very wide angle. Day 3 we left Armidale and headed down to Port Macquarie. There's the age-old question from people who've never been on a GS rally, and they ask themselves, is the rally for me? Really, the BMW crowd's a pretty laid-back bunch of guys, and not many of them are into dirt. So the GS Safari, the dirt version, is a fantastic place for someone to go and do their first rally.
Nothing's been typical. No skin in my days. Yeah, I had a million dreams. One got away. Now that I'm having you, I know it won't fade.
Things I really like about the GS650 Sertao, the 2012 model that I had. The GS650, it's actually quite stable under throttle in a turn on a dirt road and tends to go exactly where you point it, running the Dunlop 606 at 22 psi. So as soon as I'd completed my steering and started to throttle on, the bike would stabilize and quite predictable in the corners. Conversely, if you didn't have the throttle on, it wasn't so hot. Second thing would be its power. It's only got 35 kilowatts, around 50 horsepower, but it's a right amount of power for a GS Safari. It certainly enabled me to pass any other bikes I wanted to match the speed limit on the dirt. The front ABS was surprisingly good. I have to say the front only. The seat's very comfortable. The fuel tank, 14 litres, is quite a good size, and the rear position of the tank is also well designed. 60 Newton meters of torque at 5,500 RPM was really great. It's quite a torquey bike. Heated grips, definitely use those in Glen Innes on the cold mornings. And the bike was 100% reliable, even when I gave it a good thrashing on this rally. Nothing broke down at all. It started well, the spokes were all tight. Absolutely nothing broke down. The bike was very reliable.
memories of your life's past. We only see what we want to now. I long that it could last. I've seen the wasteland of these empty words. This life is a battle, but not a but not a and all the lights are out at midnight. I'm alright in hindsight. 'Cause all that's left here now is starlight. It's our lives in hindsight. And as I lay here in the street, I see what I need. I need escape from this debris. Carefree.
Riding technique wise, Australian dirt roads, left-hand drive roads for Europeans coming to Australia, always stay left on a right corner. Don't be tempted on a blind right corner in the outback, in the bush, to cut in, because you'll find a four-wheel drive in your face, and if you go for the right side, he's going to pull to his left and you're going to impact him anyway. So it's really vital on right corners that you stay wide, stay on the left until you can see through the corner. If you can see through a right-hand corner that it's clear ahead, you can use the centre section of the road. Now, the Aussie roads, the point to bear in mind is they are potholed. There are a few potholes. You don't want to hit one at speed. You're going to bend your rim and blow your front tyre most likely. And on the edges, because the roads are cambered a little bit in a sort of round fashion, there's always a lot of marbles out of the wheel tracks. So I like to ride on the left-hand wheel track and stay out of the marbles, which are the sort of rocks and pebbles that are being swept to the sides of the road. Because once the wheel drops into the marbles, you're going to find yourself sliding, and the only way out of that is to keep the power on and to weight the outside peg. In an argument as to why do you stand or why do you sit, standing gives you visibility way ahead on the road, so it sort of triples your visibility, your ability to see the potholes in the road surface. So anytime you're unsure of what's coming up, I stand, and then I sit in sections where the road's more predictable to prevent leg fatigue. When standing, you don't want to lock your knee back, so your knee is bent in the standing position. And the idea is simply to raise your head height to give you more visibility down the road. Sitting in corners, I do tend to put my foot forward motocross style in a tight corner if I'm going at a reasonable pace. But otherwise, the trick is to lean the bike and remain upright yourself.
Nothing's been typical. No scan of my days. Yeah, I had a million dreams. One got away. Now that I'm having you, I know it won't fade. No, it won't fade. It was you. Nothing's been typical. No scan of my days. Yeah, I had a million dreams. One got away. Now that I'm having you, I know it won't fade. No, it won't fade. It was you.
starlight. It's our lives in hindsight. And as I lay here in the street, I see what I need. I need escape from this debris. Carefree.
They said I would never be a threat, looking down on me. Said I didn't have enough, should I never shown up. Didn't think I had the fire. And yeah, it was hard on me, the doubt running over me. But I had to snap back, shrug a shoulder at that, 'cause I gotta be a fighter. Oh, this is the way I flow. Sorry you thought you had control. I'm already through the road. Fight. Through the
Okay, there goes Big Tony. Now what you haven't been able to see from the forward-facing camera is Tony's been behind me since the Styx River. One of the GS 2012 photographers, Jason, at jasonmurray.com. Day 4 of the GS Safari left Port Macquarie. We went out to the motocross track, did some skills training, and then up Tom's Pass and back into Port Macquarie. The other question I've been asked a lot about the rally is people who've never been on one or have procrastinated and never gone wonder what it's like for the first time. Really, for a first-time rider, the rally is quite relaxed because the BMW crowd is a very relaxed crowd of riders. They're not fast racing type people. That's why they bought BMW GSs. They really form the sort of Charlie Borman style ride group and putt along and have a bit of fun, but nothing too intense. So it's not formidable. It's quite easygoing. Nothing like, for example, the KTM rallies where the riders are mostly ex-racers or racers and go considerably quicker than anybody on a GS rally. But all in all, the GS rallies are excellent fun. If you're a bit faster, leave early, you'll be in front of the group. You won't be in so much dust. Really highly recommend it for anybody with the GS, even if they don't have dirt skills. Go on the training course first, the 2 day before the rally, and make sure you're fit enough to handle the full 7 days, the training plus the 5 day ride. Day 5, we left Port Macquarie and headed south to Foster. Yeah, near the end of the rally and during the rally, in fact, even, you start to ask yourself, why the hell do I work so much and why don't I get out more? There's just that feeling of incredible freedom and being alive when you're out riding your bike on an adventure road, dirt roads around Australia, and it strikes you that going back to work is not appropriate and you should really do this all the time. The rally is not just a tick box for someone, but I think it's a goal that you should try to achieve on a fairly regular basis and find a reason to not work and go on the GS Safaris in Australia. The mods I did to my GS650 for the rally, I added a steering dampener by Rally Moto for deep sand, but in fact we rode on very little deep sand, so it wasn't that useful. I added Touratech fork protectors, Touratech lowered front mudguard, Touratech bash plate, and Touratech bar risers with the extended longer brake cable. I installed some of my own custom daylight running lights, LED lights, Aussie bark busters, Dunlop 606 front and rear tyres were very good choice. I ran the 606 front at 22 psi and the rear at 25 psi. I've got my own Aussie Sertao muffler mod, which you can find on advrider.com. I enlarged the air intake, I thought it was too restrictive. I added a much brighter LED brake light, and I made a GPS bracket out of some carbon sheet and a sunshade for the Zumo so that I could see the screen of the Zumo 660 in bright Aussie sun. I run a giant loop tank bag. Gearing wise, I changed the standard 16 tooth down to a 14 tooth. That really made second gear really quite usable.